too good on that.
Okay, I think we have a number of people joining us online tonight from, looks like we got Mark Love, Tim Linton, and a Chris's iPhone.
Okay. So you're nice and loud here, plus I have my mic on you so that you'll be picked up elsewhere as well. So hopefully this will do the trick. We'll see. And Heather, you'll be able to share your screen at the appropriate time, right?
I can. I'm guessing we don't have any audio for anyone else there, though, or any video.
No. I don't think we're going to have any video feed for the Zoom participants, unfortunately. It'll only be audio.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Is Scott ready?
Yes.
All set? Okay. All right, so we are live. So I'm going to go ahead and open the meeting. This is the meeting of the Select Board in Paxton. We are here in the training room of the Public Safety Complex. Today is Monday, April 28th, 2025, and the time is currently 7:06 p.m. So we do have an executive session scheduled for the end of our meeting pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21.3 for executive meeting minutes, and also for a discussion of a litigating position of the Select Board, which would have a detrimental effect to do so in open session. So we have a few consent items just to start with. One of those consent items we are going to, two of those consent items we are going to be passing over for now, and that's with regard to the Boy Scout Troop 105. The other items I will read off. So consent item number 1 is to approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting held on April 14th, 2025. Number 2 is to appoint Karen Gearin as an election officer for the term of April 28th, 2025 to August 15th, 2025. Number 5 is to approve the sign request from the Girl Scouts to place a Girl Scout registration sign on the Common and on the corner of Camp Street and Pleasant Street. Number 6 is to accept the resignation of Anita Fenton from the Council of Aging effective April 30th, 2025. And number 7 is to accept the intermunicipal agreement for the participation in the Central Massachusetts Regional Stormwater Coalition. Any objections to any of those consent items?
No, just thank Anita for all her time on the COA. Appreciate everything she's done.
Absolutely. Donna, would you send her a letter from us? That would be wonderful. Anita's been on the Council of Aging for a while, and always gives 100%, 110%. So we're sad that she will be resigning. Okay. So with that, I'll declare that those consent items have been approved, and we will revisit the Boy Scout Troop 105 request for the Town Common when we have a new date. Okay. So next up is our FY24 audit review with Roselli and Clark. I know we have finance here. Mark, would you like to open your meeting, or do you have a designee to open your meeting?
I'm happy to open it. Is Jeff and Tony present?
Yeah, we are.
Jeff and Tony are both present.
And Tim and I are online, so we have a quorum, so we open the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. All right, so Terenzio, if you want to come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Terenzio Volpicelli. I'm a certified public accountant and a representative of the firm of Roselli, Clark & Associates. Certified public accountants with offices in Woburn, Massachusetts and Hopedale, Massachusetts.
Terenzio, can I just stop you just 1 minute? I just want to make sure that the people on the Zoom can hear us. Are you guys able to hear Terenzio?
No.
All right, let me move my computer closer so that you can.
Yeah, I don't have a voice that carries very well.
It's not your fault. We've had some technical issues, so.
Can you folks hear me better at this point?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. So like I said, my name is Terenzio Volpicelli. I'm a certified public accountant, and I represent the firm of Roselli Clark and Associates. We were engaged to perform a financial statement audit of the town's financial statements for the year ended June 30th of 2024. This was the second year of a 3-year audit engagement that was awarded to us through an RFP process. We were engaged to perform a financial statement audit. In summary, the objective of a financial statement audit is to give an opinion on the fairness of the financial statements and their related disclosures. This was not a forensic audit, which is a separate assurance agreement in which the objectives may include the discovery of waste, fraud, and abuse. I bring that up because today that's quite a topic of discussion. Each of you would have been provided, and you can't, I don't know if you can see me right now, each of you would have been provided a 3-page letter, what we refer to as our required communications letter. I will just touch upon a few key topics here, because if you do read this, it will put you to sleep. Some of the highlights include management, which includes the folks in this room, are responsible for the selection and employment of appropriate accounting policies. Accounting estimates and their related disclosures are an integral part to the financial statements. The most significant accounting estimates included in your financial statements pertain to the total OPEB liability, which is determined using what's referred to as the alternative measurement approach, which is available to communities of the size of Paxton as opposed to going through a full actuarial valuation. The total pension liability, which is based on the town's proportionate share of the Worcester Regional Retirement System, as well as the allowances for doubtful accounts. So those are your 3 primary key estimates within your financial statements. The related disclosures around those are pretty significant. If you look through the audited financial statements, it's probably 6 pages long when all is said and done, just surrounding those 3 key areas. I'm happy to say that we did not encounter any significant difficulties in completing our 2024 audit, and we didn't have any disagreements with management on accounting, reporting, or other auditing matters. We highlighted in this letter that in fiscal 25, for which here we are more than 3/4 of the way done, you will have to have what's referred to as a single audit. That is an audit of the compliance of your federal awards, and that has to do with ARPA. So in 2025, we expect that you will have expended more than $750,000. Unfortunately, that dollar amount goes up to $1 million the following year. So unfortunately, the timing did not work for June 30th year ends, because otherwise you may have been able to avoid that. The town's 2024 audited financial statements were issued on February 25th of 2025 with an unmodified or clean audit opinion. It's important to note that we rely on the audit of another firm that has extensive experience with Massachusetts municipal electrical operators for the audit of the Paxton Municipal Light Department's December 31st, 2023 balances. The December 31st, 2023 electric balances are included in the town's June 30th, 2024 financial statements. The audited financial statements consist of several key sections. The first is what's referred to as the government-wide financial statements. Those present the town's financial operations and financial position as if the town was a public company, similar to, say, a Raytheon. And that's where we see the town's capital assets, all of its long-term debt being presented on the books, as well as its net pension liability, its OPEB liabilities, the allowances for doubtful accounts, and whatnot. We then have what's called the fund financial statements. These are reported on a modified accrual basis, and these most closely resemble your own internal records, which are kept on a statutory basis in accordance with the UMAS, the Uniform Massachusetts Accounting Standards. There's what's referred to as the proprietary financial statements, which report on your electric and water operations. Once again, those are on full accrual as if it was a company like a Raytheon or whatnot. You have what's referred to as the fiduciary financial statements. So those are funds held by the town for other beneficiaries other than the town. And in this case, it's really just the OPEB trust for the electric department. You have the notes to the financial statements, and then the required supplementary information, which also includes the management's discussion analysis at the beginning of this report. In terms of budgetary flexibility, a common measure used by rating agencies, including S&P, is to evaluate a community's unassigned and assigned fund balances in its general fund as a ratio of its normal expenses and transfers out. That's referred to as a reserve ratio. The town's 2024 reserve ratio was 11%, which is down a tick from the prior year. It was 12% the prior year. Rating agencies would consider anything north of 10% as good. Interpret that what you will, good. So the town entered fiscal '25, and it's funny, here we are, more than 3/4 of the way done, but that's such as it is. With certified free cash of $638,000, that's slightly higher than the prior year, and general and capital stabilization funds of $418,000. That's about $95,000 lower than the prior year. In terms of the budgeted actual performance, if you would go to the audited financial statements on pages 62 and 63, you would see that on a statutory basis, the town's fiscal 2024 revenues and other financing sources were about $9,500 less than its expenditures. Pretty much net zero when you think about it. The town carried over about $191,000 of articles and encumbrances into fiscal '25. Actual statutory-based revenues exceeded budget by about $299,000, while expenditures and carried over articles were about $280,000 lower than budget. When we turn to the governmental funds, which again are the modified accrual which most closely resemble your financial statements, we see that the town reports its ARPA grant fund and its ambulance fund as major governmental funds. So we have the general fund, which is always a major fund. We have our ARPA fund, which I suspect 2025 will be the final year we report on that. Your ambulance fund, which has actually just grown so much that it qualifies as a major fund. And then everything else is lumped into what we refer to as non-major governmental funds. The ARPA fund expended about $60,000 in 2024, primarily for public work costs, and had a remaining unspent fund balance of $789,000. And we understand that that's been expended by December 31st, I believe. The ambulance fund reported revenues of about $515,000, which were up slightly from the prior year, and had a budgeted transfer out to the general fund of $461,000. So the cash balance in the ambulance funds was $744,000, and the net receivable deferred revenue balance is about $186,000. So there's $186,000 that can be collected, and you had $744,000. The non-major funds, which include your special revenues, your receipts reserved for other appropriations, capital projects, reported an increase of $476. Again, pretty much net zero. It's amazing how well you folks can manage your budget. So the audited financial statements themselves detail all your debt service schedules. 25 through 28 are individual years, and then they're in 5-year increments. You can find those on pages 42 and 43 of your audited financial statements. Provide some visibility as to what you folks will be paying off in the next couple of years. In addition to your long-term debt, the town, just like every other municipal community in Massachusetts, faces some significant future obligations in terms of long-term personnel costs associated with pensions and OPEB. With respects to pensions, you're a member of the Worcester Regional Retirement System. Therefore, you really have little to no control over what happens with your pension system, save creating what's referred to as a pension reserve fund to sock away money that you might use to help defray future appropriation increases that might have gone outside of budget. But I don't think that that's in your cards right now. The town's proportionate share of the Worcester Regional Retirement System was about 1.2% for about the last 5 years. So when we look at it as, 98.8% is outside of you folks. So based on the most recent actuarial valuation, which is pretty old because they'll probably have a new valuation in the next month or two, The Worcester Regional Retirement System was about 50% funded. That's up from 48% the prior year. We would expect that that funding ratio would go up because calendar 24, the pension system runs on a calendar year, produced some pretty robust returns. I believe they're pretty much 100% invested in what's called PRIT. PRIT is an investment fund managed by the Treasurer's Office in the state, and I believe their return based on their composition would be anywhere around 9% for the year. It's not expected to match the S&P because the S&P was north of 23% in calendar 24. It's a very diverse set of investments. A lot of real estate, and commercial real estate was really, really hurt in 2024 with rising interest rates, delinquencies on commercial realty. They probably had some exposure to Stewart Health and whatnot in there also. So again, we would expect that it's going to go, about a 9% return. So we would expect that funding ratio would come up, tick up. I don't know if it's going to be too high. So through June 30th of 2024, there's another obligation called OPEB. The town has not put any money aside for OPEB at this point, and it had an expected total OPEB liability of about $1.3 million in today's dollars. The electric department does maintain its own OPEB fund, and they're about 138% funded. But they also have very few employees. But
Yes.
we see that's actually not atypical at this point. I would like to remind the town of a couple key risks that it faces, and I think every year I come over here I say the exact same words, but they do need to be said. We continue to observe an increased frequency in municipal theft. Management is in the best position to spot that, to see the red flags, changes in behavior of folks, or just things that would jump out. After all, I mean, we're in the field for 4 or 5 days. We're not in a great position to see that. You folks are in the best position to see that. We're also stressed the need to maintain sound network security and other controls around the town's financial systems, public safety, storage, and other electronic communications. Phishing scams continue to plague not only municipalities but all organizations. We have spoken with your treasurer, and I continue to stress when somebody requests via email to have changes made to their payroll, additional scrutiny has to be made. This is not a big town. Every employee can come to the town offices. Many times this happens to the police chief or the fire chief. An email goes out, says, please change it, and the payroll clerk doesn't want to bother the police chief or the fire chief. They make a change, next thing you know, that money is gone. These should be done in person. Any changes to vendors should be, payment methods should be corroborated independently. And that, folks, concludes the formal aspect of my presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to speak really loudly because the Zoom people need to hear me from over there, so I'm warning you in advance.
Would you like to join me up here?
I may have to. So I'd like to entertain any questions for Terenzio first for the select board. Any questions?
I don't have any. Thank you.
Okay. And then finance, any questions for Terenzio?
Yeah, just a quick, I read it a couple weeks ago, I just want to clarify, what is our total pension and OPEB liability to the Worcester County Retirement System? Not the yearly amount, but the total amount, the 1 point,
Okay, so bear with me for a
Take your
moment.
time.
I do need to find that.
16 million and change sounds familiar, but I just want.
That's not a number I know off the top of my head. Yes. As far as the pension, roughly 9.9 million on the town side. Water, about $151,000, and the light department, $2.7 million.
Okay.
So about $13 million when all is said and done. And you can find that on page 41. You just have to add 3 numbers up on that one.
Thank you. And thanks for, I just wanted to say also, thanks for coming. I know there was a scheduling issue, so I appreciate you coming back.
Actually, it worked out wonderfully for me.
You weren't busy on the 14th?
Always good.
No.
A little girl had a swimming competition, so it worked out
Oh,
beautifully.
oh, glad we could help.
So you get to go. Great. All right, any questions from the public? Or I'm sorry, I should ask if there's any further questions from finance. None in the room, Mark. Anything from you?
No, all set, thank you.
Well, that's a first.
Okay. And nothing from the public? Any questions from the public? None. Okay, very good. Thank you, Terenzio. Okay, bear with me. Oh, I probably should have shut that video off, so I'm not making people sick. Sorry.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Getting back to our agenda. Okay. So we have an update from the Charter Review Committee. Mark, I wanted to check in with you to see if you are available with finance to discuss the old business item number 5 regarding the information session for the annual town meeting. Were you planning to stay for the Charter Review Committee session?
Yes, I'll stay on.
Okay, and is finance prepared to stay?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent, great. So, at this point, I will invite the Charter Review Committee to come on up to provide their update, and I will move my computer again.
Do we need to do that, or can I speak from here?
Oh, you can speak from there if you're comfortable there. I will move my computer over there.
Do we?
That's very
I don't think we
much
need
okay.
to, do we?
They need to hear you, and the only way they're going to hear you is through the microphone on my computer.
Ah, all right,
All right.
all right. Can I hand you something for you and Carol for reference?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, thank you very much for the opportunity to present on behalf of the Charter Review Committee, our update, our 90-day update. Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Again, thank you for the opportunity. We're here after 90 days to provide an additional update subsequent to our update in January of 2027, when we presented our first update. Our presentation is going to cover the mission statement, again, as stated there, restated for the purposes of greater understanding of the committee's discoveries to date. We have been asked to review the town's special act charter in order to make updates and changes to be presented back to the select board when complete and ultimately placed before the town residents at a town meeting and once approved sent to the state legislature for approval. Our work shall ensure that the charter continues to meet the current and future needs of the community, promoting transparency, accountability, and efficiency. We will also incorporate best practices that we have discovered in reviewing numerous state documentation as well as no less than 35 different charters from different municipalities throughout the state that are in effect and been approved. Next slide, please. Our next few slides are going to talk about work streams and proposed timelines. Okay. We have divided our work into 3 phases. We are currently in what we are terming to be the information gathering phase. This started in January and will continue through the end of June and possibly moving into July. Here we are trying to interview all officials, whether they are appointed or elected, all staff and department management, all of the employees of the town, whether they are residents or non-residents, as well as all boards, committees, commissions. To date, we have interviewed over 108 individuals. And I would surmise those interviews saying to you the following. The folks we have talked to in reviewing the existing charter say that it lacks clarity and definition around roles which comprise the elements of governance or the town and does not help the residents nor the employees understand the accountability, reporting relationship, interdependencies, and definition of those entities to their satisfaction. Because of that lack of understanding, there is a questionable status regarding the decisions that are made that impact both the residents and the employees alike. They don't understand the foundation of where those decisions are made and how. Key statistics for this particular phase. We have interviewed 22 of the 23 official and department managers with some feedback pending. The good news is the 23rd person we are interviewing on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. That is the treasurer collector, Elizabeth. 12 of the 25 boards and committees and commissions have been interviewed with additional feedback pending. And before you ask, of the 13 remaining, 6 of those committee boards and commissions, we are working with the chairs to schedule meetings sometime in the next 5 weeks. So it will be the conclusion of April and all of May. We're trying to finalize those. 7 of the committee chairs have not responded at all to our inquiry or request for an interview. I will follow up, or we will follow up as a committee with those 7 to continue to try to get this done within the timeline that we have outlined, being the end of June. Go back, please. All right. 5 department staffs have also been interviewed. And those are the 5 staffs associated with the major departments. We're talking about light, water, Department of Public Works, the police department, and fire department and rescue. 6 residents have also provided feedback to us, including 3 of the 4 nominees for the select board positions that are going to be voted on in May. Brief summary, in addition to the overarching view that I shared. Every interview was greeted with great support and a willingness to have an open and honest conversation. It was quite heartwarming for us as interviewers to have people being so ingenuous and being honest with us and forthright. They were also very excited and grateful for the committee's willingness to get their opinion on our governance structure. Many didn't know the charter existed. They were quite interested in learning its purpose and the intent. And they were equally excited and very grateful for being asked their opinion and being able to provide it. Some of the department managers shared post those interviews that we actually improved morale through many of those conversations. Again, keeping with the consistent message that I've delivered so far, a demand for greater clarity in reporting structure, roles and responsibilities of all the departments were a common theme. And we should be consistent with the existing contracts, bylaws, and underlying documents that impact this town, whether defined by the state or by existing documents that have been approved that affect only the town of Paxton. Overall need to improve communication between departments was also stressed. Greater accountability and transparency were a common requirement for all officials, department managers, committee, boards, and commissions. In general, many people felt they were not as well informed as they needed to be effective, either as residents, employees, or managers. Next slide, please. Willingness to support. Next slide. Because of what we've heard as feedback, oh, by the way, the picture of Anna Maria College is not there by mistake. We know the town meeting in June is going to be at Anna Maria College, so we thought the photograph was quite appropriate. Based upon what we've heard to date, and we believe will continue to be heard as we continue to complete our interview process, there is a significant need to update the current management and operational entities. And those portions, of course, within the charter. There's also a need to add certain provisions not currently part of the existing charter. There are many roles, responsibilities, departments, committees, boards that are not defined in the existing. Bless you. That are not existing in the existing charter. And so therefore, we feel our mission is really evolved from a charter review to a charter revision. Next slide, please. One of the underlying work streams that exists across all three of our phases, whether they be the information gathering, which is what we're in today, the information sharing, which is what we will begin in July and go through the end of the year, or the transparency tour, which begins in late 2025 and goes through 2026. The communications work stream continues to be an underlying thread supporting as a foundation for all of the work that we are doing. We have created a newsletter that is ready and written for distribution at the town meeting and for several town committee meetings, the COA newsletter, and shared at upcoming town events like Paxton Days, which is happening in June. I have given the select board copies of the newsletter. I'll now ask my team to hand out the newsletter to others if they have not appears they do. All right, great, excellent. What you have in front of you is our May newsletter update. As the name implies, it is the first of many that will be done and provided by this committee throughout the year. This is our first one. We will use this document, this newsletter, as a foundational piece as we put forth letters to the editor of both the Landmark and the Paxton News for their publication in those periodicals. On May 12th, we are interviewing with Ken Cleveland, the beat writer for the Worcester Telegram and Gazette. Out of that interview, we hope that his submission of his article to the editor of the Worcester Telegram and Gazette will result in a publication. As always, we will keep the entire community at large informed of our progress in all three of these areas. I've already spoken about Paxton Days, but let me say, we have already, through the process defined by the town, submitted our paperwork and we'll have a table at Paxton Days where we will hand out items to be consumed in your body as well as copies of the newsletter. We'll also be conducting coffee hours with the residents. The first one being October of this year, the second being in January of 2026, and the third being in March of 2026. We will also be sending out an updated newsletter with the tax bills in January of next year to all the residences in town. And as already outlined, starting in late December and going through all of 2026, we will have a transparency tour strategy that we will execute. Creating social media pages for effort awareness and providing feedback mechanism. We'll include an update in the January 2026 tax billings. And for all of you that actually received the newsletter tonight, and for the ones that you get, those people and residents who have yet to attain one of these, you will see on the back, you have Scan Me. If you actually scan that, it will open up a communication vehicle that you can communicate directly to our committee as we look forward to the honest, concise, constructive feedback that we've received to date and hope to receive from a growing audience over the next 14 to 16 months. I'll stop and ask, does anyone have any questions, either in person or on the phone?
I have none.
I have none, but I think what you're doing is tremendous. I really do.
Thank you, appreciate it. It's the work of six very dedicated people, and I cannot say enough about the pleasure it is to work with them. It really is truly a pleasure.
Is that 108 meetings?
108 discussions, not 108 meetings.
100, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, for example, the Board of Health, which by the way, thank you, Julie, was a very
Oh, they're nice.
informative meeting. I will tell you, those four people shocked the three of us who we had no idea of the breadth of what they do. And I would submit to you, 99% of the town residents don't understand what the Board of Health does. It was really very eye-opening and very informative. So that was 4 of your 100.
They are a great board. Long-termers there.
As an example, not that there were others that were as tremendous. So, next slide, please. All right, our next steps. And this is what we're going to be following up on through the next 2 phases, information sharing and transparency tour. We're going to review town meeting votes to ensure all approved warrants are included in the new charter. I.e., we understand that in 1998, a recall process was presented to the town and approved. Yet we were not even aware of it, nor was it in the charter. We will ensure that it is. We're going to complete the remaining interviews. We're going to hold one-on-one meetings with the select board members to review a new proposed organizational chart, a series of recommendations that we have put forth for their consideration. These are recommendations or items that we have heard as concurrent and constant themes in our discussions with folks that have an actionable item. Some may be applicable to put into the new charter. Some are just follow-up items. For example, that we would ask the select board to consider for immediate action based on those recommendations. An example of this, for example, would be, for example, the select board calling together another group of residents that would actually do a review of the bylaws and their current state, just as an example. We also produced a third document for their review, and we call that observations. These are, again, recurring and constant themes that we have heard in our feedback sessions with folks that may not have an immediate actionable item that we feel comfortable in recommending, but we feel obligated to make sure that all select board members are aware of them because they have been a constant theme of the feedback mechanism. We would ask them to then consider them if we can agree upon an immediate actionable item as a result. Maybe those observations may move to recommendations and eventually into the charter itself. We will also begin to draft, once we've completed our interviews, the initial draft of the town charter. We've divided up our team of 6 into 2 groups. The authors and the editor reviewers. 3 of us will begin working on the draft. 3 other members will serve as our sounding board and editors, with the intent of them looking and reviewing what is written with a skeptical and objective eye, and the eye of a resident or an employee, not that of a committee member. We liken this to saying we want to consume our own dog food before we distribute it to the public. And that's the next bullet. We'll conduct a self-review committee. We're going to schedule a follow-up session. Once we have a new draft of the charter, we will start with the select board, but also then we'll go to every official, whether appointed or elected, every department manager, every employee, every board, committee, and commission. In other words, everyone we have interviewed, we're going back and talking to them again. This time, in our hand, the draft of the charter for their consumption, review, and feedback. And we will also continue executing the communication work stream as we've outlined. As you know, I've said we are 6 members. We lost a member earlier this year due to a family medical emergency, so we are down 1. We're calling for a resident who's excited about making a difference and assisting in defining the future of our community and our home. If interested, please contact Lori Becker or Steve Lubesco, that's me. We would love to have you. If more than one volunteer comes forward, that's Nirvana, we can always use the help. One would be added as a voting member, and certainly anyone that's willing to help us, we would welcome you with open arms. I want to just say, in conclusion, the work we're doing is critically important. What we are defining is, in effect, the Constitution for the town of Paxton, and should be viewed as our Constitution. Once created and approved, it should be something we all are proud of, understand, use it as a vehicle for education, for transparency, for awareness, for answering questions. So we view our work very seriously, and our commitment is to all of you, the employees and residents of this town, because we're working for you. With that, I ask any questions or concerns.
Any questions for Steve?
Great work, all. Stuff.
Are there any questions from anybody on Zoom for Steve? I have nothing on the Zoom. Okay, any questions from the public?
I just have a comment. Steve brought to my attention that he asked me to interview. I just found the request in my junk mail.
Oh, no.
So my apologies, but I'd be thrilled to give you an interview.
Excellent. David, we will follow up with you soon.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much. I personally very much appreciate all the work that this committee is doing. I know Carol also expressed that.
Absolutely.
And I think that the community at large will greatly respect all of the effort that you guys are putting into this, guys and gals are putting into this, so very much appreciated. Thank you so much for the update.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna turn off the video this time before I move the computer. There we go. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take one item out of order for the benefit of finance who is here. And that is our old business to discuss the information session for the annual town meeting to be held on May 5th, 2025. Just to start us off, I know that there is a group that's going to present starting at 6 p.m. at Paxton Center School on the 5th, an informational session with regard to town meeting, so that citizens, is just a general information session for citizens with regard to how town meeting works, to just provide them with information about how town meeting works and what the process is. Following that, at 7 p.m., we are going to have our budgetary information session, which will last until approximately 8 p.m. And so at this point, we do have a presentation that the town administrator put together for our last meeting, which I think we can use as a basis for the town information session on the 5th. I know we've asked, I've communicated with Jeff on this particular issue with regard to maybe some additional items that we can add to that presentation in order to help get it off the ground. Jeff had already put some effort into a presentation, and so this would be essentially taking some of that information and merging it in. And I've already spoken with Heather about doing that, so
Thank you.
I think that will be helpful. But the question that I have now is for the information session is who's going to be present for this information session and how do you want to manage it? I have already asked Donna to go ahead and plan to post a select board meeting for that night so that the entire select board can be present.
Yeah, I'll be there.
And then I wanted to check in with finance to see how you were feeling about it.
Yeah, I don't know, I can't see, but I'm assuming Mark and Tim are still on.
Yes.
Yes. I unfortunately can't be there, it's a Bay Path meeting night, and I had to miss last month because I had COVID, so I can't be there. I'll try to get there if that ends early, but.
Yeah.
you know, So I don't know who else from finance will be there, I'm not sure.
I know, I'm kind of 50. Do we need a quorum? It's just a presentation, right?
It's just a presentation. We just want to make sure that everybody who wants to be there is able to be there and invited to be there for this because it is going to be our one single information session for the budget. And I'm only holding my computer this way so that hopefully the microphone picks you up.
Okay.
So it is our one information session. And I want to make sure, I know that there was some concern that finance wasn't, invited to the information sessions last year, so I want to make sure
Yep.
that you are proactively being invited.
Yes, at least, I think we're aware.
Okay.
Sad answer that, yeah. Is Heather gonna present?
So Heather, that's my thought, is that we might have Heather present it. But I think that the select board will be present.
Yeah,
Any member of the finance committee will be present.
yeah.
Heather will go through the information on the slides. And then from there, if there's any questions, I think anybody who's able to answer the question can answer them.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no further questions. It sounds like a fine approach. From my perspective, I saw Heather's presentation, and I think it does cover, maybe we can add a couple more things in, but I think it covers what needs to be covered. So, I don't know if Mark's still on it. I can't see from here.
He is. Yep,
Okay.
I'm still there.
I don't know, maybe we could talk about posting a meeting, but we can do that offline, just in case there's a quorum
Yep.
showing up. But I think otherwise, we should be good to go.
Okay, great.
But we,
Any feedback from the finance committee members that are online?
Stuart, I could not hear what Jeff said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's got to go through.
Let me move you closer.
Hi, Mark. I just said that we're aware of the meeting. And if there's going to be a quorum, we can consider posting. But other than that, some of us may be there, some of us may not. I have a conflict with the Bay Path meeting night, so I don't know if we'll have a quorum or not. And I also said that I'm in agreement with Heather presenting her presentation.
I agree with Heather presenting, and we do feel duly invited. So I believe Finance Committee members will attend at their own preference.
Yep. There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. All right. And I have confirmed with cable that they will be able to record that session as well.
Right.
So hopefully we'll have something that can be reviewed by anybody who's unable to attend.
Yeah.
All right, Heather, was there anything else that you wanted covered for that information session?
No, I think that's all.
Okay. And Heather is visiting us by Zoom tonight because she is ill.
Oh, no.
So
Feel better.
Jeff says, feel better, Heather. Okay. All right. So with that, we're going to move on to our new business. And Mark, I don't know if you want to keep your meeting open, but I'll give you the opportunity now if you'd like to close.
Is there a motion to adjourn the finance committee member?
So
meeting?
moved.
Jeff has moved it.
Second.
Tony has seconded.
All in favor, Jeff?
Aye.
He says aye.
Tony?
Aye.
He says aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Mark says aye. Finance committee's portion of the meeting is adjourned.
Very good.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night to our finance committee members who might be leaving us now.
Good night.
Good night, Tim. Okay. So next up is to discuss an offer to donate land. This is land that's located on the assessor's map, 30 lot 77 and lot 95A. Heather, are you able to share that? Yeah, there we go. Can you share the map? Okay. So you can see these two lots. One is 50 feet by 108 feet. The other one is 25 feet by, I don't see the dimension on the other end, but not by lot, not much. So these are two areas, I believe we have heard from the DPW director that they are both wetlands. And he is unfortunately not able to make use of them in any way. And so the request has come to us as to whether or not we would approve a donation of this land. Of course, if it is donated to the town, it does not generate tax revenue. So any thoughts on that?
I think the policy of the select board has always been that to keep parcels on the tax roll if we don't need them, and I don't see any need for these two parcels. If they're wet, what we're going to do with them? They're just going to add to our inventory of non-buildable lots. They don't touch anything that we need, none of our properties, so I'd make a motion not to accept these two parcels.
Excellent. So I agree with you on that, and I will second the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? And we're not by Zoom, so we can just say aye.
Aye.
Well, we're not by Zoom, we're in person. There is a Zoom going on. All right. So next is to we have two items on the agenda that we're going to pass over, and one is the Klingley Building bid and the bid for the Tivnan Field lights. Those two items are both still in process, and so we will wait for those to be more finalized, and they will come back to us. Next, we have an approval for a posting for an interim town administrator. I did request, Donna, did you have the, bear with me, let me pull it up. So I asked Donna to send me over the prior interim town administrator posting, and for some reason I don't have it. Bear with me. Yep, here we go. I have it now. All right. So it is currently worded, Town of Paxton, population 5,000, is seeking an experienced, thoughtful, and skilled leader with strong communication and collaborative skills to serve as its interim town administrator. This is an interim position commencing with the scheduled leave of the town administrator and concluding upon the return of the town administrator. Obviously, that would have to be modified, estimated to be 8 weeks. The interim town administrator will support and advise a 3-member select board that will also have to be modified.
Yep.
And manage day-to-day operations of the town and town departments under the purview of the select board, consistent with duties and responsibilities identified by the town charter. Duties will include assisting the finance committee, select board, and department heads with the annual budget process and managing any open projects. The ideal candidate will have at least a bachelor's degree, preferably a public administration or related field, and at least 5 to 10 years of relevant municipal management experience with demonstrated skills and abilities in managing staff, personnel administration, use of technology, and understanding of Massachusetts municipal law, labor regulations experience, and skilled in intergovernmental relations and communications, both internal and external. This is a part-time, 19 per week, non-benefited position. The days and hours for this position are flexible and will be set with the select board during negotiations with the chosen candidate. The town of Paxton is an equal opportunity employer. To apply, please submit a letter of interest with salary requirements and a resume and a single PDF file by email to hr@townofpaxton.net. Applications will be reviewed when received. The position is open until filled, with a preference for applications received before October 5th at 12 noon. So obviously, this will need to be modified in several ways. Do you have any specific items other than the ones that are no longer applicable?
Well, not applicable. Are we still only wanting 19 hours?
That's a question I had as well.
Because previously there was 2 positions that we was funding. This will be the only one. So maybe we should think about that,
Yeah,
depending on what we have, what is needed
right,
at that time. But I think maybe more than 19 hours.
yeah. So do you want to post it as a full-time position?
So, or maybe, 30 hours, something like that.
Yeah,
Which is still a full-time, basically, but it's more than 19.
right, just to have somebody
Yeah.
here.
And maybe,
for-
we can bring that when we find somebody, when we do the interviews or whatever we do.
we can
negotiate
ask
that, yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is also, I think 8 weeks would be pretty optimistic for a timeline. And so I think that there's the possibility that this could be a much more long-term interim until we find a more permanent
I agree.
town administrator. So I think we should just remove that 8-week issue. Other than that, I think that the remainder of the posting is appropriate.
Yep.
And then the only other question that I have is, should we put a salary range?
I don't know, because I think it depends on the experience of the person that we get. So,
Okay. Excellent. Okay. So we'll make those changes and get this posted with the intent for the individual to fill the role upon the departure of the present town administrator, which is slated to be the end of her contract on June 30th. Okay. And then next is to review a first draft of the warrant for the annual town meeting on June 16th. So in the meeting information, there was I think it was the very last item, and it just had placeholders.
You should see it on the screen.
Oh, and thank you. Heather has put it up on the screen. So Roman numeral 3, we determined earlier today, is a duplicate, so we can ignore that. But otherwise, we have Roman numeral 1 is for zoning bylaws, and then, so any bylaws is what essentially she's put on this table. Zoning bylaws, and there is also capital improvement and library bylaws. She has these on here for a placeholder. What we're finding out at this point is that, number 1, the charter review is in process, but number 2 is that I believe both of those bylaws are going to need some work to the extent that we're not going to be able to have them approved for this town meeting.
Okay.
So my suggestion would be that we not have those on there for this town meeting. Next would be infrastructure and road funding. These are our typical articles, Chapter 90, authorization, and then our appropriation to the Road Improvement Capital Stabilization Fund, as well as our use of those funds from the Road Improvement Capital Stabilization Fund that we have on every year. As I mentioned, our Roman numeral 3 is duplicate, so we can move past that. Roman numeral 4 is repurpose articles. Heather, can you scroll on your screen? There we go. So there was 2 items here. We have that there was 15,000 that was left over from appropriations in 2024, and she has put it in as a placeholder for potentially using it for offsetting the cost of clickers for town meeting. And then the second was $34,250, which was left over. That was from the DPW building.
It was the planning.
The planning for
Yeah.
it, yeah. Engineering, thank you, that's the word I was looking for. And we wanted to, or Heather has this on here, to repurpose that for the Klingler building, potentially to help renovate that as office space for the DPW.
Okay.
The 15,000, I think we should probably talk about that in terms of whether or not we're using it for the voting clickers, but really we're just looking to make sure right today in terms of, what's on here and is there anything on here that we're missing or anything that's not here that we want to be here. So we can certainly talk more about what that 15,000 potentially is used for if we choose not to use it for town meeting.
The only thing I say with that is, it's a capital item. It's not in the capital
That's true.
report.
Yep. The other things that we could consider using that for would be, if we want to hire a search firm for a town administrator, we could consider using it for that. And there was one other thing that I was discussing with Heather earlier today that could be potentially used for, which is escaping my brain at the
Okay.
moment.
It's a placeholder, so.
But it's a placeholder for now. Yep, exactly.
Julia?
Yes.
It was the push pen and near map.
Yes, thank you. So it was offsetting that new assessor software, which would be a good use of that funding because ideally you're paying for something in order to get a benefit out of it,
Okay.
financial benefit for the town.
Okay.
So, all right. Roman numeral 5 would be our revolving funds as we normally have them. Roman numeral 6 would be our enterprise accounts, so the water enterprise operating budget, maintenance of our water tank, and then we would have our new enterprise, the MS4 enterprise, that would be on there. And then Roman numeral 7 is our capital articles. And so we have the capital items that we've previously discussed, one being the library HVAC controls in the amount of $5,000, which would be coming out of capital. One being the Paxton Center School boiler, which is $67,000 coming out of capital. We have 2 police vehicles that were approved, and year 1 would come out of capital, and years 2 and 3 would come out of the operating budget for the police department. And then we have the new ambulance, which would be up to $450,000, which has been slated for ambulance receipts reserved. Roman numeral 8 would be our school-related articles, which would include the BPATH vocational budget as well as the WRSD budget. And then in addition to that, Wachusett has asked that all of the towns put on a warrant article to consider a capital stabilization fund for the district. So that is there. And then Roman numeral 9 would be our town budget article, which is our complete or omnibus town budget.
Are we calling it the omnibus?
This is the first time I've seen it
I don't
referred
like
to
it.
that way.
I don't like it. I can't even say it, so I'd rather just call it town budget.
That's fine. And then Roman numeral 10 is our Wachusett Greenways article that we have annually. Is there anything that you see that we are missing on here that should be on here?
I don't think so.
I didn't see anything missing. So now you can see what's there. And so obviously we don't have all of the language put together yet, and some of this is still up for some discussion, including that, particularly that 15,000 on the clickers for town meeting. And we will continue to discuss those items, but for now, as placeholders, does this look okay?
Yep.
Yeah. The answer is yes. Okay. So moving on from that. All right. So we've already gone through our old business. I don't have any select board correspondence. And Heather, do you have a town administrator's report?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, just give me 1 second to pull it up.
Sure.
All right, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip the calendar. I think we've already covered a good portion, or just highlight, May 5th and then May 12th for the Paxton Center School session, and then the election on May 12th.
We'll just give Heather a minute.
13th.
Heather, you're muted right now. Just want to make sure that you're aware.
All right, can you hear me again?
Yep, we can hear you. Oh, and she's muted again.
Okay, so then we have employment volunteer opportunities already there. Just a quick shout out to the Paxton Garden Club. I know everyone at Town Hall, town's very thankful for their work they did on the wonderful flower boxes that you see in front of Town Hall when you drive by. I know we are approaching the summer holiday season, and with that season, the Paxton Municipal Light Department is working to see if they can get us situated with some awnings to update the current ones we have and hopefully get some that look lovely and fit well. We have a very old structure there, so it's been very hard to find replacement ones that fit. Julie already covered the procurement stuff earlier. The only thing we got back really in cleanly was just the floor ones. We're trying to do some modifications of some of the other specs to hopefully extend what we can get back. Grants, there's a tiny chart here with just the update for that piece. The biggest one, or the smallest one rather, is just we got the final approval for the open space. So that's all I have in short for tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel better. All right. Next up, we have public comment. Anybody for public comment?
John?
John Slavich,
Hi, John, how are you?
6 Oakwood Road. Can you hear me? I hope so.
There you go. All right, what you got, John?
All right, I just just an observation. So there's some. I do work with the cable TV.
Yep.
Okay, we have some issues here with these kinds of meetings. This is not what I came to comment on. For a person that's hearing impaired, it's just because I'm old. All right. At the last town meeting in November, I heard everything. Okay. It's a big issue. I'm going to address this, and all the comments that come from your off-site, an issue for people who want to participate but I have a problem anyway. I guess there's no video, right? I will take that up with them. I'll just tell you that they know about it already, even though I'm commenting on it, and we're going to address that. That's not why I wanted to speak, but the Charter Committee has an excellent communications format. I think you might want to pursue it in the same way, because basically the planning board made me feel that I didn't do my job keeping in touch with you guys. So in the last few months, I've been trying to stay in contact with you. I feel bad for the planning board, but also this presentation was terrible. That's a communication thing, and I just seems to me that I don't know if you realized that was a failure. It seems to me that you haven't addressed it. Thank you.
Thanks, John. We'll make sure that the planning board gets that feedback. Any other?
Couple of things. First of all, I assume the informational meeting, oh, that's right. I keep forgetting that. Yeah, just yeah, that's fine. There's that, more better? Oh, there's more.
Comes as a package.
It's like an infomercial. All right, thanks. All right, couple things. I'm assuming the informational meeting is going to be cablecast plus recorded to be played later. Number two, the select board and the finance committee's meeting sometime between now and the informational meeting. Last year, at the town meeting, not everybody was on the same page. I would hope that we were planning on the select board deciding whether or not they're going to recommend approval, and if everybody's on the same page, and same thing with the finance committee, especially with the finance committee where they had differing views, but they never actually took a vote on what they should support. It seemed like the majority seemed to support one or the other. It would be nice to get everybody on record who supports it, who doesn't, why not, prior to the informational meeting. So I'm just passing that along because I think that's going to be a valuable piece. You only got one crack at this. Not going to be able to do like last year where we go for more than one override.
No.
And you only have one informational meeting. And town residents need to know what happens if the Wachusett budget does get turned down from another town. So if our override doesn't go through, it means a $700,000 cut to our services. excuse me, what is that going to mean? Second thing they're going to need to know then is if all 4 towns do pass the school budget, and we're stuck with, I don't mean to say stuck with it because I don't mean it in a negative connotation, but we have to pay it, and the override fails, what is $1.13 million cut going to look like to town services? And that's something that I would hope that we'd start to work on ahead of time. Certainly, I agree. I think, Julia, you were the one who said we need to talk about how we got here. I agree 100%. But not only do we have to know how we got here, but now that we're here, what are the potential ramifications? Last year, when we had the special town meeting, make sure I don't go over time here, when we had the special town meeting, we had a number of citizens who came up afterward and said, had we known what exactly the cuts were going to be, we would have voted differently. And if you remember, we had at least 2 say, is there a chance we can re-vote on it? And correctly, our moderator said no. So I just want to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row, meaning the town. Obviously, I'm not a town official, but you want all the ducks in a row before that night, because that night is going to be a one-shot deal. And I just want to make sure everyone's prepared, that's all. And that is my public comment.
So, when I attended the last select board meeting, Heather gave a very detailed review of the budget, and I appreciate that. And then also, Heather, you pointed to me where I could find all the gory details, which I spent a lot of time going through. And I also spent a lot of time going through a lot of past agreements that the town has. One such agreement is with Anna Maria College, and it specifically states that there's funding that Anna Maria will provide coming into the town, but I did not see any line items in the budget that accounted for that funding. Could you comment, Heather, where I might find that? Heather, can you hear me?
I could hear you, yes, sorry. So that is, AMC is done separately from the town's budget. So it is not something that passes through the operating expenses of the town. So we don't budget the expense part of it, and we don't receive the revenue part in our general operating budget. It's done through, there's a revenue sheet that Larissa, the town accountant, has on her report slide. That's called the special revenue report, or special other, whatever it may be. So it's usually at the bottom of the page. It'd be for 2025, and it would be the one that is not the general fund revenue, it's the special. So that could give you the update of what's coming in for revenues for AMC and what's going out. And then if you're looking for the specific budget, those are done year to year. That's not something we've traditionally put on the website, but it is something we make available for residents in the past who've asked for, because it is a public record. So we can get you the most recent one for FY25.
Yeah, please do. And if you wouldn't mind sharing some of the background of that at the public meeting for transparency, so everybody's aware of this item that doesn't seem to be very obvious. The agreement does say there's payment to the town. So when I look at revenues, I expect all revenues to be there. And I guess it's there, but it's in a kind of removed fashion.
So the person who's going to speak the best on that is probably going to be the police chief, since he's had the most exposure and experience with it. He's involved with it the most. I can most certainly do a high level, but he would bring the details.
Okay. I think it's an important point to bring up.
Certainly pass that along.
Yep.
I think that's everybody. Okay. So with that, I have nothing further on my agenda except for the executive session. So I will entertain a motion to move from our regular session into executive session to discuss our executive session items, and we will adjourn from executive session.
I'll make a motion.
There's been a motion made. I will second that motion. All in favor, Carol?
Aye.
And I will vote aye. So at this point, we'll take a brief recess before we resume in exec.
You need me back.